There are a couple of things that happen every day in Elul. One is the shofar, and the other is we recite Psalm 27. So I want to start with the singing of Achat Sha'alti, first as a nigun and then with words. And with particular notice of Rabbi Sheila Peltz Weinberg's translation of this line, because it pertains to what I'm teaching about the shofar, is I seek only one thing alone, to connect to this moment, nowhere else, only this, nothing less, my palace and time. Die, die, da, die, die, da, die, die, da, da, die. Die, 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 da, da, die, die, die. Die, die, da, die, 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 da, da, die. Die, 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 da, da, die, die, die. Die, die, da, die, 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 die. Die, 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 die. Die, 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 die. Da, die, 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 die. Die, 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 da, da, die, die, die. Die, 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 da, die, 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 da, die. Die, 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 da, da, die, die, die. Achat Sha'alti me'at Adonai otav akesh. Achat Sha'alti me'at Adonai otav akesh. Shivti b'veit Adonai kol yemei chayai, lasot b'noam Adonai, uvaker b'yechalo. Lasot b'noam Adonai, uvaker b'yechalo. And I invite us to just take your seats. If you're on a chair or a couch, cushion, sort of grounded, with your feet on the floor, an upright posture. And your eyes can be opened or closed. We're just going to start with a few slow, deep breaths to come into this moment, nowhere else. Our moment in time. A few deep breaths. When you're breathing in, you know you're breathing in. When you're breathing out, you know you're breathing out. Be aware of any sensations in your body, any tightness, any discomfort, any areas that are usually uncomfortable but now are okay. Maybe relax your shoulders, your jaw, your eyes, your forehead, even your tongue. Notice your thoughts, reviewing, planning, fast, slow, anxious, calm. Without trying to change, just notice where you are. And with noticing that, if your eyes are closed, you can gradually open your eyes. It's good to see everyone, all 160 or some of you who I can't all see on the same page. And I am grateful to both IJS and Mark for allowing me several sessions to explore the shofar. Because one of the main teachings of the shofar is it's essential on Rosh Hashanah that both the blower and the listener blow and hear with intent. And actually, for many of us, the quintessential experience of Rosh Hashanah is the sounding of the shofar. And we often plan the timing of our arrival to the synagogue to be there on time, but not too early. Maybe not the people here, but some people you may know not want to come too early. So we're able to find our seat or find the person who went there early enough to save the seats for us. You may be the person saving the seats for the other people. And then at the time of the shofar service, the rabbi imparts words of wisdom. We stand, we listen, and it's over. That's it. And we may have many thoughts during the sounding of the shofar. That was amazing. The Tekiyah Gedolah was so long. It was better last year. They had some issues. And those are the common thoughts that at least I have when I hear the shofar during the service. But how often are we really present at the moment of the sounding of the shofar, one with the sound of the shofar and the Baal Tekiyah, not as an observer, but as a participant? And have we prepared ourselves to hear the sounds of the shofar? So this is a slightly different way of viewing it. That we're hearing the sounds of the shofar not as an observer, but a participant. So the intention, the kavanah of these few sits that I will do with you is to help us prepare for this moment. Right? Our tradition calls for us to sound the shofar every day. And what that does, it affords us the gift of preparation, to explore the meanings of the shofar and to be aware of what arises in us when we hear the sound of the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. So this is practice. So when you go to Rosh Hashanah services and you hear the shofar, you will be part of the experience of the shofar. So I'm going to sound the shofar in several ways without actually that much teaching. You're used to hearing the shofar with 100 different notes. We're going to do this in a much more mindful way. I'm first going to sound what we'd call one line of notes. Tekiyah, the single note. Shvarim, 3 notes. Truah, 9 notes. Tekiyah. And we're going to wait. And you're going to notice what arises. And it could be being startled, awake. You may notice changes in your pulse. You may notice many changes in how you're thinking or feeling. But we're going to sit after I sound the shofar and just sit with that and just notice what arises without judgment and without trying to change it. So you may want to keep your eyes open when I sound the shofar. First, the shofar is much louder in person than it is on Zoom, but this is still a fairly loud shofar. So just to notify you or warn you. Okay. So I'm going to do Tekiyah, Shvarim, Truah, Tekiyah, and then silence. And just notice. You may bring up startle, fear, awakening, memories of times that you heard the shofar when you were younger with your parents or grandparents. You may notice your pulse quickening if you were startled. Again, without judging, without telling a story, just notice. Now we're going to sound each note separately. Tekiah, and we'll sit for a few minutes. Shvarim, we'll sit for a few minutes. Truah, we will sit for a few minutes, and then back to Tekiah. And actually this was a practice that I learned from my rabbi and teacher, Marcelo Bronstein, that we did on our mindfulness Rosh Hashanah services, where the shofar blower wants to sound lots of sounds. We only sounded 4 sounds. It's the same as mindfulness prayer, just hearing the intention of each note. So we'll start with Tekiah. Sometimes that's awakening, alertness, alarm. But whatever arises, arises. So I'm going to sound Tekiah. And just notice. You come back to your breath, your anchor. And the next note is Shvarim. The 3 separate notes. It can be crying, sobbing, Elul backwards in Hebrew is Lu'uli, Lu'ulai, if only. And for me, sometimes that Shvarim sounds like if only, if only, if only. So when I sound the Shvarim, just see what comes up. See what it brings up inside you, sensations, feelings, thoughts. Shvarim. Notice your thoughts, sensations, feelings. You feel the different notes in the different parts of your body. Return to your anchor. And the next note's trua, the 9 short notes of brokenness. And I'll sound that and just see what happens. Notice what you notice without judgment, but allow yourself to experience the full range of reactions to each note. We return to your anchor, and then we return to Tekiah. When Tekiah is sounded again, is it the same reaction as the first time? Maybe now, instead of alarm, alert, awakening, maybe it's hope, maybe it's teshuvah, return, repair. Let's go back to Tekiah. Come back to your anchor. We'll come back to Achat Sha'alti.
Thank you so much, Sean. Friends, let's seal today's beautiful shofar practice with an opportunity for those who are in mourning, those observing a yard site like John today. Any of you for whom it's the custom to join in the mourner's Kaddish are welcome to do so. And if you're not, we ask that you please stay present to offer your compassionate support for those who are in mourning. You can put the name or names of those you're honoring in the chat now or after you recite Kaddish. And if you're joining me, please rise in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shemerabah,
Amen.
Yamad, Rach, Yamlich, Malchute, Chayechon, Yechon, Amen, Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, Bizman, Karev, Vimru, Amen. Shmei Rabba Mevarach, Olam Olamei Amaya, Yitbarach, Yitavach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitramam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemei Tikudasha, B'richu. La'ela, Mikol Birchata, V'shirata, Tushbechata, V'nechamata, Amiram, V'alpa, V'yimru, Amen. Yehi Shlama
Rabba
Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim
V'chaim
Aleinu
Aleinu
V'al Kol
V'al
Yisrael,
Yisrael V'imru.
Amen.
Amen.
Oseh
Aseh
Shalom
Shalom
B'rumav,
B'rumav.
V'yaseh
Shalom
Shalom,
Aleinu
Aleinu
V'al Kol
V'al
Yisrael V'al Kol Yoshvei
Yisrael,
Tevel
V'imru.
V'imru.
Amen.
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 Friends, thanks for joining us today. And if you're leaving us now, we hope you'll join us tomorrow. Tomorrow's sit will be hosted and led by my friend and colleague, Rabbi Jordan Ben-Appel. Jordan will also be hosting on Thursday. One will be led by Rabbi Sarah Brandis joining us from Hanaton in northern Israel. And so we hope you can join us for either those. And on Friday, we'll be led by Aaron Rotenberg, who'll be joining us from Toronto. I'll be away leading an IJS retreat from tomorrow through Sunday, so I'll be back and look forward to be back with you all next Monday. I want to thank Jon Silver for leading us so beautifully today, and of course, everyone's welcome to stay on for conversation. And if you have questions or responses or reflections on the experience of tuning to the shofar today, please stick around and join us. And thanks to Rachel for holding our space today. And John, thanks again for sponsoring our SID and in loving memory of your dad and your brother. May their memories be a blessing always.
Thank you.
Well, I'd love to see a lot of response in the chat today, John, to how people, what came up for people as you put it, what arose after hearing this whole series of the shofar sounds, and then after each one. So we should definitely make use of that. And I just want to thank you also, for lifting up that so much of Jewish practice and ritual we do, by rote or in an automatic way. And there's very rarely the space to have intention and to really savor and be in the experience. And this is just such a gift, very, very few services dedicate at least 20 minutes to hearing the shofar without a lot of talking or readings or, there's lots of great kavanot and intentions, etc. So why don't we look through? People, please feel free to put in the chat what came up for you. I'll share what came up for me, Josh, and then I have a question for you about the experience of blowing the shofar and hearing the shofar at the same time, what that's like, or how it may be different for you when you're not a Baal Tekiah, when you're not blowing the shofar, but when you're a participant in the mitzvah of tuning to it. Why don't we start with that? What's up?
So you're asking, what's the difference if I'm sitting and listening somebody else do it versus I'm doing it myself?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm going to go back a little bit. um, which is not the question you asked, but this is,
Okay.
this is what politicians do. Like they answer the question.
Answer the question you wish I asked.
Is how my experience of being a Baltikia has changed over the years.
Okay.
Because so I've been doing this since I was 12. So this is like 60, that's like 59 years of doing this. And it's clear that most of the time, up until fairly recently, this was a performance. This is my confession. This was a performance. I didn't have a kavanah as an intention, and that was really changed through B'nai Jeshurun when they had Rabbis Peter and Jonah Geffen give us a teaching, all the shofar blowers, a teaching in 2012 about the meaning of the shofar, and Peter, as a Baal Tikal himself, suggestions about how we should sound it, because we've all learned by listening to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed. That since that time, I started looking at some of the teachings to change what my intention was going to be when I was going to sound the shofar, to build a bridge for connection, and then the next big thing was Marcelo Bronstein, who was or may still be on the sit, gave me like the enormous, fantastic opportunity to give the kavanah when I was sounding the shofar, which meant I had the opportunity to share what I was trying to transmit to the congregation when I was doing it. First, that makes you think a lot more about what you're doing if you have to actually say it. But to be able to share what I was trying to say through the shofar was a transformative experience. That made me think so much more of what I was doing and why I was doing it, and the effect, especially on me, and the effect on me then transmits to others.
Mm-hmm. That's really beautiful, Jon. Just starting to scroll through some of these reflections, and please keep them coming, which are great. So why don't we start with this question from Margaret, really, who said, what if I have no significant reaction at all? I'm not being irreverent, no conscious resistance either, just sounded strangled, a little funny and a bit squealy, just hearing the sounds. Thank you for your honesty, Margaret. What do you think? What do you think, Jon?
No judgment. Whatever arises, arises. And one, that could be what happened today, because honestly, I mean, as nice as this is an artificial situation. This doesn't have the power of being in Rosh Hashanah services. You know, if that has some power to you, and through Alan Liu's words, like this is real, and you're totally unprepared. So what happens now, happens now. It may happen later on. It may not happen later on. But it's nice to know that this is what happened now. And when I listen to it, I'm aware of whatever's happening. So that's fine. I mean, honestly, during lots of sits, when I'm told to visualize, I can't visualize. Okay? It doesn't work for me. I've learned not to. I mean, I know I'm a bad meditator. I think everyone knows that everyone's a bad meditator. And people who teach meditation know that all their instructees are bad meditators, but it's a secret. They don't want to tell anybody because then they'll stop. So whatever arises, arises. So without judgment, and say, like, maybe something will happen later.
Right.
And if it does, fine. If it doesn't, okay.
Right.
At least you have the opportunity to witness, because before you didn't even have the chance to notice.
Right. You could say exactly that. That's good noticing, Margaret. And the other thing I want to tack onto that is that sometimes I think what's helpful is to be aware of this, of what's called a four worlds approach, meaning that, and this is a tradition of four lenses that we look through, which we often apply here on the Daily Sit, of starting with the physical or the body, then moving into the emotional, then into mental, and then to the spiritual. So like it may be that the only experience on a given day is all I hear is squeal, all I hear is the sound, and it sounds like this, it sounds like this animal, or it sounds like that, right? But there's no emotional resonance or no no, mental activity that's triggered, or no, it doesn't reach the soul. So some days are just what's called shot day. This is that's it. There is another question here for you, John.
So, I mean, the whole idea is to give us time to notice, which we're not
Yes,
usually given the time.
right, right. Um, John, would you speak more about the intention and motion with which you blow the shofar, or in how we listen? Are some moments holier and more awakening? I guess you kind of just answered that. Um, uh, um, it's interesting because like some people are quite affected. I heard that first, I heard the tekiah is very shrill and piercing, and then I noticed the calm afterwards myself. Like I think you used the word startle. I was startled by it. It was not pleasant. It was not a pleasant sound. Um, and then I could like feel my nervous system, jump and then kind of relax. And actually, the relaxation afterwards, as a result of having been woken up, was actually quite powerful. The shvarim, the cry, I heard as that. I heard as a cry, and then the trua, the staccato, um, I heard almost as a melody. A number of people are asking about John. It was very soothing to begin and end with that melody for Achat Sha'alti from Psalm 27. So I want to also invite you to say a little bit about that. Aside from the fact that it's another Elul custom to recite that, were you thinking about enveloping the shofar in the sweetness of the guitar?
At least the sweetness of the psalm of
The
that
guitar
part.
was the guitar was sweet too. I'll say that.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, I'm more anxious about playing the guitar than sounding the shofar, but it's like,
Mhm.
but the guitar has a very nice, like mellow sound that does balance, balances the shrillness of the shofar.
Mm,
But, and as you may recall from last year's mindfulness service on Rosh Hashanah, I started with Achat Sha'alti.
right.
Because I think it's the kavanah of just this moment. We're just staying with this moment, my palace and time, only this, nothing less. And I think it's a good kavanah for going into the shofar, to listening to the shofar.
Mhm. I'm scrolling. John, I don't know if you're scrolling through the comments, which are really fantastic. I mean,
It's hard for me to listen and scroll at the same
no,
time.
no, it is. Yeah, it is. Well, it is hard. It's not the most mindful, but what I'm taking away, that the final tekiah people experienced as uplifting, as hopeful, as a call to action, as a kind of seal on the practice. Um, so just it's interesting to note that, and also
And
some people, didn't like having background, dogs barking in the background, and others did. That's fine.
I mean, I'm on the 17th floor, so like, it's like,
Yeah, we're
whatever.
we're 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 in Manhattan here.
What can
But
I do?
some people appreciate it. Some people hearing the noise of nature. And Judith is right. After the first tekiah, a hawk sounded above me, almost like an echo, even though I have earbuds and he couldn't have heard me. I love that. That's beautiful. Um,
But by the way, the reaction to the second tekiah was
mhm,
actually something I only thought of like yesterday when I did this.
mhm,
Oh, I wonder whether the reaction to the second tekiah will be different than the first tekiah.
mhm.
So like it's always something new.
Yeah, beautiful. By the way, your Rabbi Marcella Bronstein is here and uh, appreciating your shofar sounding. So that's quite beautiful. Marcelo had a beautiful sit last week.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just seeing a lot of appreciation, John. Also, actually, it evoked a lot of tears for a lot of people. And just to kind of recap the shofar project for those of you who are in it, and if you're not, here's a little taste of it. The first week, last week, was really dedicated to the theme of the shofar as something that opens the heart. Um, that as if that we can hear as a loving voice. Miriam Margolis wrote a beautiful piece about likening the sound of the shofar, the call of the shofar, to the kol dodi, the the sound and voice of the beloved knocking at the door of the heart, gently waking us up. And then this week, as I mentioned, is about opening to hear and be and not turn away from the pain in our lives and in the world. Next week, sneak preview will be about hearing the shofar's invitation to compassion. And it's really very moving to see all those themes reflected in people's experience today.
Okay,
Somebody's dog didn't like it, but
some very wise rabbi said that the shofar is the tuning fork of the soul.
I got it. That's a keeper.
And I think all these comments show that, gee, that was right.
Yeah. Thank you for that, John. I actually, that was in my mind, because sometimes when I'm hearing, and I'm just going to throw this out for people as well, for those of us who think of God / the divine / the sacred in energetic terms, as kind of this energy, as this chiyut, life force in the universe, the shofar, the vibrations that are generated by the shofar, for me, it's just receiving and experiencing a sense of the vibrations of the shofar resonating within me, in my body, like thinking of myself as a sounding board, which is maybe another nice thing about using the guitar, right? And the sounding board of the guitar, plucking the strings, which is a different kind, it's a different nature sound, but still the vibration that is finding a place of resonance. So,
And also just about the shofar, clearly all shofars sound different.
yeah.
I prefer a very loud, piercing shofar. So this is a loud, piercing shofar because that's what I like. Some people prefer a mellow shofar. For me, like it doesn't connect. It's like too melodic. It's like too much like a French horn. It feels like you're hunting. But my bias is to the loud, piercing. But some people like startle so much to that.
Right. And we should end, but it's given that you said that, for those who may have been startled, or who may have been, may feel activated, just a word to be very gentle with yourself, and to do whatever you need to do to kind of re-regulate yourself, because it is a powerful thing, and could be dysregulating for some people at different times. Anyway, I love your shofar, John. I love your guitar. And I want to thank you, and we'll look forward to, I can't remember what day next week.
I think it's next Tuesday. The teaching will be different. I mean, it'll be
Right. Okay. We'll look forward to it. All right, everyone. Wishing you many blessings for the rest of your day. Hope to see you tomorrow. And once again, thanks to Rachel and to you, John. Be well, everyone.
Thank you.